This episode is brought to you by the American Homebrewers Association, organizers of the 22nd Annual Learn to Homebrew Day, coming up on Saturday, November 7th. Learn to Homebrew Day is an opportunity to celebrate and spread the joy of one of the most rewarding and delicious activities of all time. Pledge to brew this November 7th and to receive a promo code for $5 off a one-year American Homebrewers Association membership. Visit homebrewersassociation.org to learn more. That's homebrewersassociation.org. Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, October 29th, 2020. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, Steve Wilkes of stevesbrewshop.com, and I taste hop sampler number 18. This time it's Simcoe, Citra, and a blend of the two. Will we be able to tell which is which? Will the blend be better than just the hops alone? How many references to things that happened before you were born will we make? Stay tuned and open that Google search page right now. If you go to basicbrewing.com, you can find archives of our audio and video shows. If you go to basicbrewingshop.com, you can find our DVDs and our brewers' logbooks. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Basic Brewing and find our show page on Facebook as well. We have a cool Basic Brewing app on iTunes and Amazon.com, and we're found all over the place where fine podcasts are served up. If you want to support us financially, check out patreon.com/basicbrewing, and thanks to everybody who's helping out in that way. If you go to patreon.com/basicbrewing, you can see a long list of stuff that you can access if you sign up as a supporter. Financial supporters have already seen the video that I'm planning to post to the general public on Friday, my zombie hard seltzer. A beverage Steve said was pleasant. High praise. I'm getting more disaster show stories. Always amazing and entertaining to read what misadventures that you've been having over the past year. This year's theme appears to be spraying and spillage. If you want your story to be a part of this year's end of the year show, send it in before the end of November to james@basicbrewing.com. Sending well wishes and positive vibes to everybody south of us as they brace for yet another strong storm surging up from the Gulf. Seems like insult to injury. Hope you all get a break to recover very soon. And also thinking of everybody on fire or their surroundings being on fire out west. Incredible. This year just keeps giving and giving. Let's take a quick look into the mailbag. This one is a sort of sponsored one because Casey from Imperial Organic Yeast is helping to answer. Well, she's not helping. She's doing the whole thing. I had no part other than sending her the question. Anyway, listener Christopher writes in with this. Christopher says, I'm looking at radically downsizing my brewing footprint to a system that does 9-pint batches. I also love working with liquid yeast and live about 5 miles from the Omega yeast facility here in Chicago. I know a guy, a homebrew shop owner, whose shop is literally next door to Omega, who can walk over and get me a freshly packed yeast, i.e. made within the last couple of days. I'd rather not give up on that wonderful supplier, but of course, pitching 2 billion cells would be ridiculously overpitching, and I'd lose the opportunity to express yeast flavors. Christopher says, if I recall correctly, when you do your small batches for experiments or samplers, you use dry yeast, which is much easier to scale. If you wanted to use one of your Imperial yeast packs for a small batch, how would you go about it, and how would you store the unused portion? Well, Christopher is right. When I do the hop and malt samplers, I do use a packet of dry yeast, but I've often wondered how I'd do it with a packet of Imperial organic yeast because, 200 billion cells is way too much for a 6-pack. I sent Christopher's email to Casey at Imperial, and she wrote right back. Casey says, small batches are rad, allows so much more freedom for creativity and experimentation without ending up with a ton of beer on your hands. I'm guessing that you're doing 5-liter batches. That will yield around 9 pints. Anyway, you can absolutely pitch a portion of our packs and save the rest for a later date. Casey says the big things that you want to keep in mind are length of time between opening the pack and using all of it, sanitized/aseptic storage, and the ability to pitch a consistent amount for each batch. Casey says if you're indeed brewing 5-liter batches, there are technically 4 pitches in one pouch. I would encourage you to use the whole pack within a week of opening it. Go ahead and homogenize the pack and pitch a quarter of it by weight. Then transfer the rest of the pack into a sanitized mason jar or other glass storage container that is equipped with an airlock or some sort of PRV. Each time you pitch, make sure that you're pitching the homogenized slurry by weight and not volume. That will help keep things consistent. Casey says still you have a couple of things that are risk factors, contamination and loss of viability. As long as you're confident in your sanitization practices and use that opened package as soon as possible, you should be good to go. Thanks for the support. Say what's up to the Omega folks next time you see them. Thanks, Casey. She's so cool. And that was on a Saturday, too, so working on the weekends. There you go. Divide the slurry by weight, store in a glass container with an airlock, sanitize very well, and use the yeast fairly quickly. We love Imperial Organic Yeast. I like to say my stir plate is dusty because I don't use starters anymore for moderate gravity 5-gallon batches. And as you've just witnessed, Imperial has top-notch technical support from awesome people. Ask about Imperial Organic Yeast at your local homebrew store. And check them out at imperialyeast.com. And if you have a question for Casey or anybody at Imperial about yeast, about their product, send them in to me, and I'll share them on the show. That'd be a fun thing to do. Time to check in on what I've been brewing here at the house. Finally got around to starting a mead with local honey that I got from Caleb Hutcherson, the beekeeper that you heard on this program a while back. The starting gravity 1078, and I intend to dry hop with some leftover hops that I've got in the fridge. So a nice dry hopped mead. And I haven't decided which direction to go with that, so stay tuned. Also, our longtime friend and listener, Greg McGill, down in New Zealand, who's been listening to the show since the very beginning for some reason. We've been collaborating on a version of my low-gravity rye wit recipe, which is not really a wit. It's just rye and wheat. Greg owns Brewocracy, a brewery and tap room in Hamilton, New Zealand, and he used a bunch of Nelson Sauvin hops on his version. So I brewed a clone of his take of my recipe on Sunday, and I'm hoping that that will be a tasty feedback loop. Greg said that his customers seemed to like it, even though it was very low in alcohol. My starting gravity was 1021, which is about right for this, I guess you'd call it a style. And I'm hoping that the big percentage of malted rye will give the beer sufficient body. So stay tuned for more on that. I brewed that beer in my electric brew in a bag system from our friends and sponsors Desiree and Dave from High Gravity in Tulsa. My system is based on a Warthog EBC 130 controller and a half-barrel Bayou Classic kettle. It's 240 volts, so it really rocks that boil. And on highgravitybrew.com, you can customize your own setup using the Build Your Own Brewing System feature. You can choose single vessel, like I've got, or go with a more traditional 2 or 3 vessel system. And you can go with 5 gallons all the way up to 55. And you can go with the type of kettle that I have or upgrade to Boilermaker or even Spike gear. And then there's chillers and pumps and, of course, the Warthog controller to fit your wants and needs. And there are several versions of that. HighGravityBrew.com even has turnkey systems from other manufacturers, if you want to go that way, and turnkey Warthog systems as well. Dave has been building electric systems since they were radical and new, and he can definitely help you take the pain out of propane. If you use the code EBC75BB, that's EBC75BB on HighGravityBrew.com, you can save $75 off your electric gear purchase. Configure your dream electric system and tell Santa to go to family-owned and operated highdgravitybrew.com. That's highdgravitybrew.com. Okay, this was a fun episode to record, as you'll hear. One of my favorite things about putting this podcast together is having an opportunity to spend some time with my buddy Steve. Steve Wilkes, welcome back to Basic Brewing Radio.
Thanks, James.
This is hop sampler number, guess how many?
Oh, geez, I don't know. Let me get my abacus out.
It's do some Chisholm Bop.
15?
18.
18. Wow.
18. Do you remember Chisholm Bop? We probably talked about this on the show.
Weren't they that singing, that boys group from Tulsa?
That's the Hansons.
Oh,
Hanson
right.
brother, or Hanson, just Hanson. Now, Chisholm Bop was like in the 70s where you got your fingers and you like tapped them on the table in a certain way. It was a kid was on the Tonight Show, and the kid was racing Johnny on doing multiplication and all that stuff with Chisholm Bop, and that was going to be the next thing.
No, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, look it up.
Wow. Huh. Well, if it was during my high school years, I remember very little. So
I can't remember what happened last week. So, well, we're starting straight off down the road to staying off topic for the 30 minutes.
That's right.
But what else you got to do?
Not much. You?
This is the past. Is this the second one that we've done the blend thing? We ran through most of the hops in your store, and so I came up with the idea, I guess, to start blending some interesting, so having some interesting hop combinations. Mm-hmm. And so what we've got this time is Citra and Simcoe, and I have a letter here from listener Charles, who says, I've been listening to your podcast for just over 3 years, and I enjoy all of them. Wow. I brew different things. For example, I have a rhubarb wine on that would be good for Christmas. Also thinking of a barley wine. Charles says, in your last podcast, you wanted ideas for a hop mixture sampler. 3 came to mind: Simcoe, Citra, and Euconaut. Pretty common hops, but would be interesting still. I'm from Nova Scotia, Canada, and brewing and craft beer is popular as in most places. He says, I enjoy your podcast, and it gives me ideas for future brews. So there you go. Cheers, Charles. So I took the first 2 of those, the Simcoe and the Citra. Mm-hmm. And because, once you get, if we started to do, to blend 3, that's too much math for me.
Yeah.
So the recipe, these are extract beers. I took 3 quarts of water, and into that I put 1 pound or 450 grams of Pilsen light malt extract. And I mixed that up, and I brought it up to just to boiling. It just started to bubble. So I shut off the heat at that time, and then I added the hops, and then set that aside for a 10-minute hop stand. And then I chilled it down to pitching temperature, and into each I pitched 3 grams of US 05, Safale US 05. And then when it came time to bottle, I put 1 slug of, what are they, the Cooper's carbonation drops in each bottle. And my wife, Susan, helped me bottle those. And so into the first batch, I put 14 grams, or around half an ounce, of Citra at 13.5% alpha acid. In the second batch, I put 14 grams or half an ounce of Simcoe at 13.2% alpha acid. And in the third, I put 7 grams of each. So, and that was way back in August 13th. So it's been over 2 months, but we've been pre-sampling these a little bit, mm-hmm. and they still taste pretty good.
Oh yeah, it is great, actually.
And
very nice.
And they've cleared out really well. The bottle conditioning helps out quite a bit with that aspect. Somebody asked me online in one of the comment sections of something or other, how do you get beers to be clean? And time is one way you can do that.
Definitely.
Just let them go.
Yep.
So in terms of popularity at stevesbrewshop.com, how are Citra and Simcoe?
Citra's by far the most popular hop. And Simcoe's not terribly far behind, but Citra and Galaxy, I would say, are the two hops that I sell the most of from people who just come in off the street. Yeah, Citra's very popular. Galaxy's up there too, but yeah. And then after that, it's any noble hop.
Wow.
Yeah, so not so much the hops that are kind of the new kids on the block sort of hops like Denali and Glacier and I don't know. And then even some old hops like Cluster and Crystal and things like that, they don't get a lot of traffic. They're all great hops, all of those. But people tend to brew with Tetning and Hallertauer and EKG and Fuggles and Cascade and Willamette and Mount Hood. And then Citra, Simcoe, Amarillo, Mosaic. That's pretty much what people buy.
Where does Centennial fit in there?
Oh, I forgot. Centennial is very popular as well. Yeah.
I was going to say it's one of my favorites.
Yeah. And then they do go in spurts. I mean, you might not sell, say, Centennial maybe for a week or two. You don't sell any, and then somebody comes in and does a 10-gallon 2-Hearted Ale clone, and suddenly you sold out of Centennial. So, whoops! I thought I had a lot of that.
You did.
Yeah.
So we've got three beers in front of us here, and my wife Susan helped me to sort these. So we each have a bottle with duct tape on the lid, labeled 1, 2, and 3. So they're random. We don't know what's what.
Nope.
So we're just going to be sampling and talking and just trying to figure out what our taste buds are tasting. So what do you think of beer number 1?
Well, I like it a lot. It doesn't have any head. Mine doesn't. Which that's okay. I'm not really judging these on whether they have a head or not, but that's just a comment.
Mine did. In fact, it's still got a little bit of foam on top of it.
This is. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say.
Neither one of us wants to step out there.
Yeah. It's got a nice fruity citrus flavor. It's not really over the top to me. I get more of a bright fruit flavor, like I don't want to say tropical necessarily, but it goes a little bit tropical. And what I don't get, I should say, maybe that's a better way to describe, I don't get a real heavy grapefruit or a real heavy pine. Like Chinook is pine. I don't get that out of this flavor, but it's definitely a predominant hop flavor. It's very hop forward beer, but it's very pleasant.
I get like it was almost like a key lime. It's not. It is to me. It's citrusy, but it's not. Bitter grapefruit citrusy.
I can go with that.
And it's not like it's leaning toward lemon, but it's kind of and maybe it's because these beers are 2 months old. But it's kind of a mellow citrus, kind of like a key lime, where it's You get the citrus of the lime, but it's balanced by this, the kind of creaminess of that the texture of the pie.
Yeah. I'm totally with you. That works because it's not lemon. It's not bright lemon or bright citrus, and maybe that is a function of it being, in the bottle for a couple of months. Maybe it would be different if it were just a week old, but it's very, very pleasant beer.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's very well balanced, I think. There is enough bitterness there. That 10-minute hop stand really does the trick.
Yeah. I don't feel like I'm drinking sometimes you drink a smash beer and you really know it. That's a smash beer. It's just maybe not unpleasant or to drink, but it just doesn't have a lot going on. It's a one-trick pony. But in the case of this hop, it has enough different flavors, enough je ne sais quoi that it's
Gesundheit.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's clearing up, by the way. Took some Sudafed on the way over, and so it does. I don't miss like 4 or 5 other different hops like you do sometimes with a beer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's enough, and it tastes good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Beer. Yeah.
So at this point in the proceedings, we read a randomly selected hop description.
Yes.
And
so I'm going to read.
Does this come from hopslist.com?
Yes, it does. I'm reading. This will be Simcoe, randomly selected.
Okay.
I used to watch the Phil Simcoe show when I was young. He was funny. He was always in the army.
People go into Google now.
Who was that?
Chisholm Bop.
Yeah.
Phil Simcoe.
Oh, God, we're old. Simcoe, released to the world in the year 2000 by Yakima Chief Ranches, American variety Simcoe has become wildly popular with craft brewers. With a high alpha percentage and low cohumulin, it makes a very nice foundational bittering hop. It is also noted for its favorable aroma qualities. It has a pleasantly fruity yet earthy, herbal, and piney aroma. Let's see. Flying Fish used it to create its 10-year anniversary barley wine, using 5 editions alongside Magnum. Let's see. It also says here Sierra Nevada. Sierra Nevada uses it in one of their high-altitude bold beers, Optimum. It has been referred to as the Cascade on steroids. Now, that's what I think of Centennial.
Yeah.
I call Centennial Cascade on steroids.
Yeah.
I think Cascade and Centennial need to get in the ring and have a Texas death match. So,
well, if they're both on steroids, then Simcoe and Centennial should be a humdinger.
It'll be Fight Club. And the alpha acids are typically 12 to 14% for alpha, and 4 to 5% for beta. So that's about it as far as things that are really pertinent.
There you go.
There's a lot more information, but it's not stuff that we usually use in the homebrew world. So that's Simcoe.
Simcoe.
Yay! Yeah.
Randomly selected.
Mm-hmm.
Now, beer number 2.
Beer number 2.
To me, this has a cleaner hop, sort of more traditional hop profile.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe more toward the piney, less toward the citrusy.
I think it's a little more pine-like, and it seems to be fresher. Now, I know that they were made at the same time, but the hop character to me tastes younger.
It's sharper.
Sharper. It's not. I'd say number one has some level of dankness to it, and number two, comparatively, it's much brighter. The hop character is much brighter to me, and almost a little sweet. Now, I don't think that the hops are sweet, but I think that the hop is accentuating what sweetness is left in the malt.
Now, I don't take gravity readings of these beers, just because in the past I have, and because it's the same recipe, only the hops are different. It's so the batches are so similar that it just it doesn't make a difference. I do take gravity readings when I do the malt sampler, but of course that's all about fermentables. This is just using the same bag of 1 pound of Pilsen Light extract. So we can't know if the finishing gravity is different, but I would assume that it's not.
Surely not, or not enough to make a difference.
Right. So hopefully what we're tasting is the impact of the hops, between these beers.
Yeah. And I just went back and tried number one again, and now when I compare 1 to 2 backwards, the number 2 definitely has a little bit of a dankness, and I'm not sure if astringency is the right word, but it lingers on the palate with a kind of a bittery, that bitter beer face kind of thing at the very end. Not very long. It's not unpleasant, but it's definitely there.
So number 2 is more lingering?
No, number 1.
Oh, number 1. Okay.
Yeah. Meaning number 2 is just so much brighter, crisper. I think the hop character is much more crisp.
Mm-hmm.
And fresh. I don't know. I'll put it this way. Okay, now bear with me on this. just hang with me for a minute. Number 2 is a Christmas tree that you just put up. It's a balsam fir, and it has this great Christmas tree smell in the whole house. And your guests walk in and they go, "Wow, your house just smells great. It just smells so much like Christmas in here." Number 2 is after the Christmas tree's been hanging around for about 6 or 8 weeks.
No, you said number 2 for both sections.
Number 1. Number 1. I misspoke. Number 1, the Christmas tree's now about a month and a half old.
And it's got limes hanging on it.
And there's limes hanging on it. It's still a great looking Christmas tree. I mean, I'm trying to give our listeners something concrete to hang on to. It's a training I had as a poet at UMKC, which is true, by the way.
You took some poetry classes at UMKC?
Hell yeah, I published.
What?
I was published by the UMKC Press.
Well,
yes, sir.
Was it a dirty limerick?
Well, no.
Was the word Nantucket in there somewhere?
Well, bucket was in there several times. No, I did. I took a summer course. Well, I was taking all kinds of, both our degrees are in journalism, but when I first started, I was taking all kinds of like obscure British literature. I was reading Beowulf in Middle English and that kind of stuff. So, I was writing poetry, and I was in love with about 5 girls. So, of course, I was having to write a lot of poetry. And but I wrote a poem about Arthur Bryant's barbecue in Kansas City, and I got it published.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense.
That's something I was passionate about.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, number 2 is bright and fresh and crisp and absolutely delightful, and I think would be the more popular of the 2 beers if I poured. But number 1 is great too. It's just more subdued. Maybe the hop character just faded a little bit more, or maybe that's just the nature of the hop.
Well, for me, for my preference, number 1 is more kind of like, ooh, this is delicious. This is kind of a novelty beer, But number two is more kind of traditional and easy drinking and clean, and the hop profile is very nice.
Yeah.
But it's just more drinkable to me.
I would expect number two to be something that I would be served at almost any given brew pub around here.
Right.
As an American pale ale. I would expect that. Yeah, so there you go.
Let's take a quick break to talk about our friends and sponsors, Ricky and Kelly from Groenfell Craft Meadery up in Vermont. I got a text from Ricky yesterday saying they're making one more batch of Wild Hunt for the season. If you're not familiar, Wild Hunt is a balanced blend of honey, cranberry, blood orange, and spice. Brewed in honor of the ceremonial meads of 18th century Northern Europe. Sounds like an excellent Thanksgiving pairing. Ricky and Kelly expect to be able to ship pre-Thanksgiving, and they posted pics on social media of new gear to help them speed up production to meet the increased demand from folks like you who are ordering mead to be delivered right to their homes. You can pre-order your 4-packs or 24-packs of Wild Hunt. Remember, it's got honey, of course, it's mead, cranberry, blood orange, and spice. That would go with a turkey sandwich so well. Leftover turkey sandwich after Thanksgiving, man. You could pre-order your 4-packs or 24-packs of Wild Hunt now at groenfell.com. But better hurry. These things, they tend to go fast. That's at family-owned and operated groenfell.com. That's GROENNFELL.
Okay.
All right. So randomly selected hop description number 2, and I'm assuming this will be Citra.
No, it's actually Sriracha Ace. I went way off. Way off. Okay. No, of course it's Citra. Let me get my glasses off here. American Aroma Hop Citra was created by John I. Haas, Inc. and Select Botanicals Group joint venture. The hop breeding company, It was released to the brewing world in 2008, now one of the most coveted high-impact aroma hops in the U.S., particularly among craft brewers. It boasts a complex lineage that includes Hallertauer Mittelfrüh. That doesn't surprise me a bit. Tettnang U.S., Brewer's Gold, and East Kent Golding. Boy, that just does not surprise me one iota. The only one of those hops I've not used is Brewer's Gold, but I am absolutely in love with Hallertauer Mittelfrüh, Tettnang, and East Kent Golding. I've gotten to where I use those hops almost exclusively, and I've gotten to where I write almost all of my recipes for kits in those hops because they just work. There's a reason why stereotypes exist for a reason, and so do noble hops.
So what is it about those hops?
The flavors are just so refined. The quality of the flavor is refined, and the herbalness is there, or the pininess is there, and of course there's other hops that include in this as well, not just those, but what they say they do very well. But whereas I've noticed that other hops that have been bred recently, I don't want to diss them because they have their place, but they might be really, really, really strong in their grapefruit output, but then they leave behind a residual, a dankness, a harsh bitterness, just a flavor that's just not working. Now, it might be worth it because you can use 1 ounce of course I'm talking as a home brewer, not a commercial brewer,
Hmm.
but I might be able to use 1 ounce of say some 13 or 14 or 16% hop and really save a lot of money and to get my bittering instead of 4 or 5 ounces, say, of Fuggle or whatever. But I find that these older hops that have been used now for at least a couple hundred years, there's a reason why they've been used for a couple hundred years, and they just make the beer sing. I'm becoming very traditional in the way that I approach beer.
Are you saying hop sing?
Yes, I am. And yeah, hopefully little Joe will be by later to bear that away.
We chasely looked, we finally struck bonanza with a gun and a rope and a hatful of hope. We planted a family tree. We got a hold of a pot full of gold bonanza with a horse and a saddle and rig full of cattle. How rich can a fellow be? It's my old party trick from back in the day.
The only person I know that can actually sing that.
Hoss and Joe and Adam know every rock and mine. No one works, fights, or eats like those boys of mine. That was on the flip side of the single that I had of Lorne Greene singing. Do you know the Lorne Greene's hit song?
I do, but I say I do. I can't bring it out of my ancient mind right now. But yes,
Ringo.
Yes,
Ringo. Right. It's one of those story songs.
Yeah. At first, I was thinking it was the one where the guy talks about the guys dying in Vietnam. There was that song.
Oh no, this is a Western song.
Yeah. You're right.
Okay, number 3, beer number 3.
Well, we don't have I'd have to read both of them over again.
Yeah, just read I'll read the Simcoe and you read the Citra, and we'll do it simultaneously, and we'll
see how that works.
Now, I've been sipping on this. Beer number 3 to me is the most complex of the hop characters. Like wah, where the other ones were kind of like single notes. Yep. This is like wah. This is some harmony going on there.
Absolutely, this one seems to be really well balanced. I think it's the most pleasant of the 3 to drink.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Yeah, mine too.
It's got it's got some of those interesting fruity characters, but then there's the kind of pininess to back it up. Yeah.
This is a beer that I would, definitely just brew. It's really good.
Wow. And I guess we've been tipping our hat probably this whole time, nodding toward the direction that we think it is, right?
I think so. Watch us be completely wrong.
Yeah.
But but I have a strong idea of what I think these beers are, and that hasn't helped me in the past at all. But
we've been dramatically wrong on many occasions.
Well, yeah, I mean, I bet on the Bengals to win the World Series last year, and they don't even play baseball. So that's how bad I am.
Okay.
I just like this beer a lot, and I definitely wish I had a few more of them.
Well, I know where you can get ingredients.
Oh yeah. By the way, my sours are coming along very nicely.
Oh yeah, what you brewing?
Well, I really started out with the idea of taking Flanders Brown. I can't pronounce it in the Ode Bruin. I can't pronounce
Flanders.
That. Yeah, so I did 2 Flanders Browns loosely, and then one of them I left as a Flanders Brown. The other one I took the Flanders Brown recipe, but I purposely short worded it so that I could then pour it onto a gallon of tart cherry juice for the fermentation.
Ooh.
And it tastes, in the Wine Thief taste samples that I've tasted, it's like cherry pie.
Mm.
It's got enough. I used a lot of biscuit malts in it. I used melanoidin, and I can't remember exactly the grain bill off the top of my head, but I really made sure that it had a lot of breadiness in the grain bill, and it's like drinking a cherry pie.
Wow.
So tart cherries and then a little funky. And
what was your yeast?
I used Sour Batch Kids.
From Imperial, of course.
Mm-hmm, from Imperial. Yeah. And I just pitched it normally. I didn't do anything crazy. I didn't milk any funk. I just except for this old goat I got out back, and we use that for cheese. But I just pitched Sour Batch Kits in both iterations of them, and they're delicious beers. As far as the wine sample thieves the Wine Thief samples I took last week, and now they're ready to bottle. So I'm going to go ahead and get them in the bottle, and they should be delicious by Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Wow.
And we'll have fun then.
Yeah, sounds like a show.
Sounds like a show.
Well, shall we peel off the Band-Aid and peel off the labels here? See how wrong we are.
Yes.
Number one. We got to make our predictions.
Got to make a prediction. I predict number one is Simcoe.
What? I think it's Citra.
Okay, let me do this over again.
No, you can stick to your guns. I think it's when I think of Citra, I think of citrus and think of key lime kind of thing. Of course, I could be completely wrong.
But number two is just so. When I drink a Citra beer, it just is so bright. That the flavor is so bright. That's what I'm going on.
Okay.
So I agree. I mean, I could definitely be dead wrong, but I'm going to stick to my guns too.
Okay.
So number one, I say, is Simcoe.
Okay, I say Citra's number one, Simcoe's number two.
Okay.
And number three is the blend, I think.
Yeah, that's what I think too. At least on number three.
Okay, so we're flipped on number one and two. Okay.
Yeah.
Drum roll, please. Here's number one is Citra.
God dang it. I couldn't hit a bull in the ass with a bag of rice.
Number two is
Simcoe. Dang gummit.
And number three has got to be the blend.
It's got to be the blend. I am just shocked.
Wow.
I thought I was right.
Yep. Number three is the blend. Wow. I got right.
Yeah, you did.
Holy smokes.
I could have sworn, and I'm going to argue my argument.
Even though you know
even though I know I'm wrong.
We'll appeal to the judges here.
Well, I'm like the guy, every Monday they always recap all the NFL games. I'm an NFL guy, and all the NFL games get recapped, and then the poor. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
I'll fix it in post.
Fix it in post. Then the poor guy that has to defend his bad pick, from the day before. And I feel so bad for him. But then if only they had caught this ball, and only if they'd done this, and then only if they'd done that, and if the sun had shone, then they would have won. Well, yeah, duh.
If only my horse had run faster than all the others.
Yeah. So I'm going to do that. Whenever I make a beer with Citra, and it's the predominant hop, which I usually do it very late and like a hop stand or a dry hop, it just punches through. It's just such a bright, happy, almost like Teletubbies are cooking my dinner. It's so it's so
There's
happy.
a little bit of Poe in every drink.
There's a little Poe in every drink.
Oh.
Oh. at any rate, that's what I was. That's where I was going with number two, because it was just such a bright flavor, and I wasn't expecting that with kind of 2-month-old Simcoe. I thought number one would be the Simcoe, so I was definitely wrong. I thought the Simcoe flavor would fade more quickly, and I was clearly wrong. So,
well, we've also proven that if you take care of your beers, these beers after like a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks, went into the fridge, so they've been well taken care of, and they're still delicious. I think.
All three of them.
I think the hops have faded a little bit because, we each over the past few weeks have sampled some of the spares. So I think they have faded a little bit, but they're still really good. So which is your favorite? I'm going to say my favorite is the blend.
Mine's a blend. Yeah, it definitely is a blend.
Yeah.
I always backpedal a little bit and tell you that all three are nice beers. I would drink any one of them if somebody handed me a pint, and we're hanging out together, and I'd be happy with it. But the blend is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. It is the best of both worlds. It's they complement each other. They don't cancel each other out in any way.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and that's another good point about using hops. is learning how to combine hops in a way that they don't cancel each other out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really important, I think. And this is Stan Hieronymus should write a book on this, or somebody.
I think he probably has.
Oh yeah.
He's written a bunch of books, including one on hops.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, learning to not just use a hop, but to use a mixture of hops.
Right.
In a way that they complement and support each other rather than just compete and clash.
And do it in such a way that it also complements the malt. Because I think the balance of the hop flavor and bitterness and everything in this beer is really good. It doesn't bowl you over with the hoppiness,
right.
And it's certainly not underwhelming as well. So it's just right in that sweet spot. And the hop characters, this wide bandwidth of flavors that really everything is in balance, and it's really good.
Yeah. So actually, just by happenstance, because of the way the contest is set up, you brewed 3 really nice beers.
Oh, well, thank you.
Really nice. I've already blended all mine together.
Which basically makes twice as much of the good beer.
Yeah. So I'm going to do this while I balance the books.
Oh, Mr.
Hello, IRS.
Exactly. Oh, Mr. Taxman. Oh, well, all right, Steve.
All right. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun again. All right. Well, be safe and be well, and we will talk to you next time.
Sounds like a winner.
Well, thanks again to Steve. Steve has been working on a bunch of meads and sour beers there at his shop, and he says that they should be ready for sampling soon, so be sure to look for those in future Basic Brewing video episodes. And visit Steve's shop and show him some love at stevesbrewshop.com. If you have brewing questions, show suggestions, just want to say howdy, or questions for Casey at Imperial, or send in your disaster show stories before the end of November, you can send all that to james@basicbrewing.com, or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com, and don't forget to tell us where you're from. Check out our mobile-friendly shop at basicbrewingshop.com. Thanks to everybody supporting us through our Patreon page. Special goodies coming your way. Check that out at patreon.com/basicbrewing. So until next time, till then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dodson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. In the meantime, stay well and stay tuned. So long.